All right. I got to be honest. This computer thing is crazy. So, hey, welcome back to the Digital Orthodontist. This is in case you missed it, the first ever episode of, and we just started the stream and it crapped out. We're back, and I have.
Tell you what, I just missed the last 12 minutes. That's what I missed.
I know, right? So we're here doing a very live show. You know, it's funny. I've done 50, 60 episodes and I've never had technical issues like this. So this is good. This is how, you know, I deserve this on some level. So I have with me three of the greatest people on the planet, certainly on the orthodontic planet as it were, the moon that is orthodontics. I have Dr. Nil Idiculla, Dr. Nicole Wax, Dr. Jonathan Nicozisis, and they are here with me on their Monday night, along with you, the tens of you. So I'll be honest, we're going to have technical issues. I just know it. I just know it's going to happen. And we're.
Oh my, that guy. Oh my gosh. It's the trailer that leaves you on the edge of your seat. And then boom, there it is. When's the full feature come out?
It happened. So I think what I'm going to have to do is y'all are just going to have to keep talking. You're going to know what's coming next. And we're just going to get through it one way or another. So
no other podcast has ever done this, by the way. So
no one has ever done this where the host keeps getting knocked off.
Keeps leaving.
I know it's not the bells and whistles, Nicole. It's just the whole freaking thing. So Jonathan
Alec Baldwin, final answer. Alec Baldwin.
Yeah. Who has hosted SNL the most times? Alec Baldwin, 17 times. Second most. Who's hosted SNL second most? Steve Martin, 16 times. You were very close. But Jonathan has
beautiful hair. You know what? Wonderful jawline. Incredible mechanics. A pen polo.
It's on. It's still on. So I have it up. If anybody asks questions
maybe Kyle could ask us his questions.
Yeah.
I'm gonna join.
Kyle, do you want to tune in as a viewer to the host? Maybe.
Yeah. No, I'm gonna join on my phone and see what happens. This is just we're gonna have this happen somehow, some way. So Jonathan's been on the show a lot.
Lost Kyle.
There it goes.
For those of you that don't know, Kyle's air conditioning is out, so I want you add in the stress of this podcast, and he will get more and more moist every single minute.
He's gonna lose 10 pounds before the end of the podcast.
100%. He's gonna have a ShamWow on his head. Unbelievable. Dripping. Kyle is dripping.
Man.
Oh, look at him. See the glisten? Viewers, you know.
And I even have a towel ready for this.
Oh, look at that! Look at that!
Your forehead's glazed like a donut, like your donut juice.
Yeah, no, I you're not wrong. I'm trying to join on my phone, but I can't do it. So I don't know. Let me log in with Google, see if that works. And so
try Bing.
Yeah. It's awesome and unused.
So Jonathan's been on the show 7 times. Congratulations, Jonathan. I have gotten you a velvet jacket. It's in the mail. And actually, I went ahead and photoshopped this myself. This is a photo of you enjoying your jacket in the comfort of your home. Although it doesn't look entirely accurate.
Jonathan would never.
There you go.
That's better. And actually, that doesn't look very accurate. This is better. So that was the joke I've been trying to make for 10, 15 minutes of technical issues, people.
Well, it landed perfectly, Kyle. So
that one joke.
Thank you.
The build up is really what sold it, I think.
I'm Googling perfectly right now.
Yeah. So I'm trying to log in on my phone because I really don't want it to keep messing up as it's been messing up. But we'll see. You know, I can't control the wind. All right, well, let's jump in. So what is In Case You Missed It? Well, we're going to be talking about what's happening in orthodontics right now, in the month of June, but also we're going to go back to like April, May, that sort of thing. And so we're going to do that. So the first thing, believe it or not, is a new segment that I like to call I Did Not See That Coming. Oh.
I did not see that coming.
Yeah.
That was me using my new IPR saw.
That was your oscillating saw.
A little bit too aggressive.
A little too aggressive. All right. So I I did not see that coming. I did not see that coming. Here we are.
Oh,
Hey.
I did not see that coming.
We're
I
going to
did not
hide
see
that
coming.
for when we need it. So we'll come back to that if we need it. We don't know. All right. So I did not see that coming. What did I not see coming is Embrace. I don't know if you've seen this, but Embrace closed its operations in April. It's now returning with a new executive team made up of orthodontists, just like it was in the beginning. I definitely did not see that coming. So what say you?
Is anyone an Embrace user on here, or was? I have not
I
used Embrace.
I almost succumbed to the FOMO about a year and a half ago after a meeting and getting all hyped up on it. And I went back and I talked to my staff, and there's nothing to do with Embrace necessarily, but just the whole lingual concept. Generally speaking, we sat down and we mapped out the workflow, et cetera. And, for me personally, going lingual, even introducing that small group of patients that might want it, it's just not scalable. And I have a very small staff, and introducing something so disruptive as more chair time and lingual braces made it didn't make sense, not just to me, but to my staff. And I give them credit because they had an open mind and we talked about it and discussed it, and we just never did it. So I wish them all the success, and hopefully they can right whatever ship that was failing, but it's just not where I am in 2025.
I know some people that love it. Oh, Kyle. I got booted.
Go ahead, Nicole.
I know some people. Go ahead, Nicole.
Oh, I was just going to say, Anil or Jonathan, I think there's a lot of value in what you say, because you looked at it very strategically. Is this a problem I'm trying to solve in my office? Mm-hmm. Is the gain going to be worth what has to go in? And I think a lot of times we do have FOMO. I felt it before, right? And we jump into, maybe we don't jump into the decision, but we jump into the research of that decision, right? We spend a lot of time thinking about it, but really it's like, is this a problem I need to solve? So that's been kind of my go-to question when anything's introduced to me, or I'm trying to be, a rep is talking to me about something new and exciting, or even amongst my colleagues, I'm like, is this a priority? It may not be now, but do I want to move it up? And if the answer is no, this isn't a problem I need to solve right now, I'm like, I'm not going to distract myself so easily. So I think there's a lot of value. And I think that's, I love that technique of you talking with your team to look into making that decision or not.
The counter, Nicole, the counter is, and I lecture about this, is fixing what appears to not be broken. And so, what you discussed is logical. At the same time, we can't keep a blind eye or blinders on to say, hey, everything is fine, I don't need to fix anything, because you always have to fix what appears to not be broken, and that's very challenging. Yep. But when it comes to lingual, Embrace or otherwise, I've got 3 chairside assistants doing a lot of starts a year, and being an aligner focused practice, I can do a lot more with fewer people, whereas introduce something that takes a lot more chair time that would be totally disruptive. So I'll stop talking about that because I'm not here to crap on anything, but just here to give real world logic and thought process behind our decision making.
This is exactly how I envision this. Just like this.
Other than malfunctions,
holding it.
Yeah, I'm just
for the next hour.
And I can also hear myself in a loop.
And we need more reclaimed wood to frame that out.
How do I know we've run out of reclaimed wood, which is a huge bummer.
Total bummer.
So I wish the best to Embrace is what I would say.
And John Pham, I've really loved John Pham and talking to him, and so insightful and all that stuff. So I think we all hope the best for it, right?
Yeah.
I wish I had more experience using it. So, but I don't.
Yeah.
I've done
one lingual case, and that's the last I'll ever do.
I think globally speaking, though, you look at John Pham. We all like him. Our personal interaction with him has been amazing. He took an idea. He is a true entrepreneur, and at the end of the day, even if it's a great idea, sometimes the market bears out what is the true demand or something for something or not for something. And maybe who knows what happened and why it had a demise. Maybe the burn rate was wrong or what have you, but who knows? There have been many other industries or novel technologies that rise like a phoenix after their initial descent or demise, and hopefully they can figure it out and find that niche to again fix what appears to not be broken. But for right now, that's not me where I am.
Okay, guys, we're going to move on to the next segment, which I have an amazing video made for. And at this point, I would love a video to just save me.
As the OSO turns.
That took a lot of programming.
I thought you were going to show highlights of the video of the Eagles Super Bowl victory, but I stand corrected.
Too many.
No,
Too many.
this was my Eagles Super Bowl victory. Editing that myself.
Nice work. That was self-done? No one would have thought that, Kyle.
No, that was all me. You could hear the voiceover as the OSO.
You know, I'm going to have to play that back and see if that was you. I thought that was perfect.
Yeah, for sure. So OSOs, there's a lot that could be talked about. This is sort of like the lightning rod topic in all the groups. And I want to say that I want to keep things respectful. I have a lot of friends, colleagues in OSOs, as we all do, and have good relationships there. And there's a lot that could be said about all that. But I want to talk about personal experiences that we have from two of the people that are in this room. Jonathan, still no OSO. Me, no OSO. OSO.
Say that again.
I'm hearing an echo in my ear. It's very difficult. No SO.
No SO.
But Anil, why don't you start? You tell kind of your transition, as it were, something a little bit different.
Yeah, I wouldn't say mine's a transition. It's just more of a pivot. So long story short, like in 2022, I kind of like really scaled back from clinical care to help our OSO grow with business development and operations. And as we know, like, you know, some acquisitions decreased with interest rates and all that fun stuff. And then last year, a couple opportunities presented to help out some of my really, really good friends who happen to be OSO partners with me. So I was flying all across the country to help out friends. And I realized how much I miss being in clinical care, as crazy as that sounds. So I really missed being an orthodontist. And I actually never thought I would say that when I left in 2022. I thought I was kind of like done, kind of burnt out, and going back was amazing. So long story short, an opportunity presented about 15 minutes from my house, retiring, really, really great retiring orthodontist I've known for years. So yeah, I purchased the practice on my own in hopes to grow this thing and potentially bring it into our OSO group. So yeah, it's been a total grind. I take for granted all the systems we have put in place in iOrtho. But it has been super, super fun to look at things from a new lens and being able to choose whatever you want without having to, as Jonathan alluded to before, disrupt this huge well-oiled machine. You can create the well-oiled machine. So it's been actually awesome to take all the learnings I've had. Because I think I probably learned more about being a good orthodontist in my time away than when I was practicing, believe it or not. So I'm super excited about this chapter, and I freaking love my OSO. I love my chorus partners. I love them, and I still lean on them all the time for help, and they'll be my partners forever. So that's my take as I grow this little thing, this little engine that could.
That was very romantic.
It is.
I don't know if that
I
was
got
the
a lot of
wrong-
love, man. I got a lot
that
of
was
love,
the wrong
bro.
emotion to call from that, but that was romantic.
Sorry.
So-
It feels romantic to me.
Anil, I need to ask you a serious question, and I'm being completely serious. Like,
Yeah,
when I
please,
first met you, like 20 years ago at Invisalign Summit, you were like a newly minted graduate. You had like one location in Colorado. You're going maybe another one, and then by 2 years later, at the next summit, you're at like 5 locations, solo, going all over the place. Given your experience as a young, hungry doctor, and compare that to where you are now, and what you've been through, and have one practice. You mentioned growing it to maybe join an OSO. Is it growing it as a single location? Is it maybe a second one? Like, what is your perspective with all your bitter experience under your belt?
Well, John, some stripes don't change. So within a
Right.
month, within a month of me buying this practice, concomitantly as I was exploring options, because I don't know if this deal was going to go through, a pediatric dentist that I've known for like 12, 14 years reached out to me and was like, hey, would you do some kind of partnership and figure out how to service my patients here, blah, blah, blah. So long story short, I have like 1.5 locations, which still pains me because my goal going into this was just probably one location, max 2. I do not want to do what I did before at iOrtho with multiple locations and running around and a traveling team and all that stuff. Yeah, I think just using transparent, honest data that I learned through my chorus partners of some of the happiest doctors and the most efficient practices are single location, maybe dual location, but lean and mean. There's a lot you can do with a small team, as you know, Jonathan. And yeah, kind of check the box of what I thought I wanted or what I did want before. And it's changed now. It's changed now. So I think I'm a 3 clinical day work week guy, and a lot of family balance, life balance, professional balance. And I think you can do a lot in that, and more than enough that I would want to do. So yeah.
Great.
That's probably, oh yeah. Sorry, as Kyle was putting photos up. I don't want a team bigger than who was on that stage, probably. So yeah. Yeah. Anil 2.0, man. It's just a different world now.
All right, so that's exciting. What is it called?
Peak, P-E-A-K, Peak Orthodontics.
Okay.
Peakortho.com. Yeah.
Did you change it, or is that the name that they had?
I changed it. It was the retiring orthodontist last name.
Mm-hmm.
So I changed it. Yeah. Not a lot of Idiculla orthodontics for sales, unfortunately.
Yeah, or Fagala Orthodontics.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. I mean, after this podcast, there might be one.
Yeah, I think people are going to be inspired to do everything just like I do it. So I'm having fun. I don't know about y'all. So Nicole, I want to hear kind of your story and kind of where you're at the end of all this. And I think for me, it's just I have a lot of friends that have joined OSOs. Some love it, some don't, some are somewhere in the middle. It's just a curiosity that I have is as people are trying to decide what's right for them, which group is right for them, when should they do it, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I like for all stories to be out there. And I don't like this idea of sort of gating conversations around these things. And there's some people that kind of want to do that. And I want all the good, the bad, and the ugly, and the beautiful, and all that to be talked about. So tell me your situation if you can.
Okay. So I was a very, like, not typical. My story wasn't typical, right? I think a lot of people were equally as curious when I joined an OSO at the end of 21, as they are now at, how I am no longer with an OSO. And oh gosh, I don't even know where to start. There's so many different stories I could tell you. First of all, I will say this. we just reached 10 years, a decade of being in practice. So I opened up, and Jonathan, you mentioned when you met Anil 20 years ago. I met Anil, and I don't know if you remember this, but you were doing a course for Detroit Mercy, and you were talking about all your great marketing ideas. And I probably still have that notebook. And that was the first
I would
time
actually love to. I would love to use that notebook for my practice
I-
now. So if you could just mail
Yeah,
that to me, that
exactly.
would be
I'll find my notes.
awesome.
It's probably in my Google Drive. I will send it over.
I'm sorry, I have to interrupt and say that actually Chorus owns that notebook, and
Yeah.
they just messaged me and said you can't use it. So
Not
but anyway,
my notebook. They don't.
keep going, Nicole.
So anyways, that was probably, I never thought of this before, but that was probably the first time I really started thinking about marketing and owning a practice, because even back then I thought I'd be like, back then the traditional path was, the majority of people were working as an associate and then hope to buy in and then buy out, right? That was kind of standard back then. And so I thought I would do that. Well, for the first time in my life, as I was graduating residency, I was like, what do I want? Like before I was like, just get me in wherever, I got 11-year journey to get this degree. And that's all I cared about. But at that point, that was the first time I was like, what do I want? And so that led me back to home where I grew up, and no one was really looking to hire me. So I opened a practice in a tiny town thinking I was going to have a tiny practice, and I was totally cool with that. That was as far out as I had thought. And so we just celebrated 10 years of starting from scratch, and thank you. And it's been a really wild ride. And I don't know if I'm just made this way or what, but it has been wild. And the highest highs of my life and the lowest lows, and you can learn a lot from that variety of experience. And that's the only way you learn. So 7 years ago, the idea, maybe 8 years ago, 7 years in. So we're looking at 3, 4, 5 years ago, 3, 4 years ago. Okay. OSO is starting to come out. Smile Docs is doing their thing, right? They're showing the model, they're making mistakes, people are learning, whatever. And so I had no intention in my mind or, that I was going to join a group. I was just doing my thing in Michigan, when my blinders are on and I'm busy enough. I don't have to, it's hard to keep track of my own schedule versus what everybody else is doing. But at some point I got curious. And so I'm the type of person that, I want to be able to decide what my life looks like. And I believe that one can, right? Like no one else can say yes or no to me achieving what I want to achieve. And so I wanted to start understanding what this was. Like, if it's great and it sounds like it makes sense for me, I want to be able to have that option to join a group or not join a group or whatever. So about 4 years ago, I started to have the conversation like, okay, right. And so anyways, I ended up joining a group end of 2021. And it was exciting. I've learned a lot. I did learn a lot. I guess I don't know where to go here. I didn't practice my, what I was going to say, like you guys mentioned, but the reason I sold, and I appreciate the people I worked with back then, and they asked me like, why do you want to do this? I'm like, well, I don't really have to. I mean, let me tell you about me. Does this make sense? Right? Like, what are you guys doing? What am I doing? And when they asked me, what are your goals? I said, I got to think about that. And I took a whole year, because up to that point, my goal was my practice, building a family, building what I had. So when I was kind of discovering what the OSO world was about, I had to also dive deep into myself and figure out at that time who I was and what I wanted long-term. And I don't know how many of us have done that. I don't know if that's just me. I don't know if everybody knows who they are and what they want, but at that time I didn't, because we go through school, you don't have to think about anything. You're on the track, you know where you're going. And then you start a practice or you buy a practice or you're working in a practice. That's your track. Like, at what point do you stop and you say, do I want this? Do I want something different? And so for me, having those conversations with the OSO people that I was talking to, that actually was great because I did a lot of self-reflection, and I took a year to decide, am I going to sell or not? Right. And ultimately, I decided to join up because I felt what was important to me then, and it still is now, is having a positive impact in people's lives. Like, I'm pretty obsessed with that. And I felt like I could have a bigger impact and do more of what I love to do. Like I said, I wasn't a typical case to sell to an OSO. I love the business of orthodontics. I love running a practice. I love looking at numbers. I love problem solving. And so it wasn't for me to have less of that. In fact, I intended to have more of that when I joined a group, right?
Hey,
Definitely.
Kyle, I'm calling a timeout because we're doing this live. Nicole, you're going to have to kind of speed up this convo and get to the nuts and bolts, because I'm sure Kyle has a lot of other things, but people do want to hear this at the same time. So you don't want to skip over anything important at the same time.
Okay. Let me summarize my long-winded thing. Okay.
No, because the exciting thing is you've made some changes that have been really good for you, right? Which is like incredible.
Yeah.
Fun.
Yeah. So, yeah, I learned a lot. I'm not close to retiring. In the end, I guess my vision didn't 100% align with the organization's vision. I am a person that's very excited. I want to do, whatever. And
can I ask a question, Nicole?
Yeah.
Because sometimes the thought is a lot of doctors that are joining OSOs at your age, which is younger than me, is just ortho not right for you, and you can do your 5 years and then you're out. But clearly, you said you're not anywhere close to retiring, which is super encouraging to hear for your community and changes the narrative of people of your age that join OSOs, right? So one of my questions was, or one of the questions I had when you joined OSO, I was like, wow, she's too young to join an OSO. You always look at these ages, right? And you group people in this stuff. Why would they do that at that age? Because you feel like there's a certain age. And sorry, Kyle, that I'm like,
this is great,
going rogue on this, right? So I just want to encourage you, Nicole. Like, that's awesome that you didn't fit that mold, and that people might have thought about you. So now back to private practice, right?
Yeah. I think it's important to always take in everything that's going in around you, right? But then don't lose yourself in that information. And so just like I did before I sold, I did a lot of soul searching. I did that recently as well, right? Exiting the OSO. And this isn't something, I mean, you guys, we're a small sector of business in the world. Even in healthcare, we're a small sector, right? So I kind of look outside of orthodontics for inspiration and understanding and things like that. And businesses sell. And when you sell your business, it's not your business anymore. So it's not like knocking on the door, hey, I want it back. It doesn't work like that. So I don't want people to think, oh, I can sell, and then if I just want it back, if it doesn't work out, I can just get it back, right? And I think a lot of people have asked that question. So that's why I wanted to mention that. But it was I guess a hard lesson learned, lots of great lessons learned, probably for everybody involved. But I will tell you what I learned from that is I am still going to practice. And if it wasn't going to be at Dr. Wax Orthodontics long-term, it would have been at another practice, and that I would have grown and started and done all of that. I feel very fortunate that I was able to get my practice back. And I'm more focused than ever at identifying the holes. And I saw things and opportunities for improvement in my practice that I would not have seen if I had the same responsibility I did, 3 years ago before selling that entire time. Because you wear a different hat, right? Like, I'm not in QuickBooks. When you're in an OSO, you're not in QuickBooks, right? You might have snapshots of your budget here and there, but pretty much it's like, are you on goal or not? Right. Or, you've reached budget in this category or whatnot. So you can kind of focus and look a little and act and be a little different in your practice, right? Because you're not wearing all the hats. You have a team that is responsible for other things. And so I was able to see things in my practice that honestly I would not have seen if I wasn't part of that organization. And so now that we're on the other side, this is how I think of it. If I can do what I did in the last 10 years, or even in the last 7 years, like if you just completely erase the last 3 years, knowing nothing, coming out of residency, knowing nothing, right? And just doing it and figuring out as I go, I cannot imagine what the next 10 years is going to look like.
Yeah. Right on.
And so I was going to do that. I could have done that, and any one of us could do that in another startup. I was a little scared, like you said, of, you took advantage of the systems you built in iOrtho, right? Thinking about anybody can do this. Imagine starting a new practice right now, but not with the team you currently have. That was the scariest thing for me.
Yeah.
If I were going to do, right, outside of my non-compete, following all the rules and all of that, start a new practice. The thing that scared me the most was not having my team that, we've grown and learned together. Like they do it, how I describe it, the wax way. I'm like, that's going to be the hardest thing.
Mm-hmm. Question, and I have no skin in the game one way or the other, but I'm listening to this and I have to, I'm a business-minded person. You sold your practice, let's say for $100. There was a tax consequence upon that selling. Several years later, you bought it back for whatever the value was, whether it's the same 100, whether it's $80, whether it's $120, whatever it is. Looking at where you are now and the tax consequences of going through what you went through with the selling and then buying back, was it better to buy it back, or would it have been better to just start from scratch? And yeah, I get it. You don't have a cash flow because you're not buying a business if you start from scratch, but there's got to be more to the story, for you to share over the next year or two as your story continues to be written, what you think from a purely objective, non-emotional business point of view when it comes to tax consequences of selling and buying back, or selling and starting up, that Anil is doing, because from a nuts and bolts money point of view, one has to be better than the other, I would imagine.
Let me just say this real quick. Let's make this answer short because I do want to move on to that question. What would have been more beneficial? Starting fresh?
I looked at both, and I think it depends, because I did not have a business loan because I started from scratch out of school. So that was paid off. So you can imagine what cash flow is like with no business loan, right? And then getting a business loan to buy your practice back versus a startup, right? But the other thing is the money from the buyout, I invested, right? And so, that factors in as well.
Yeah. So I guess I'll say this. From what I understand,
Black and white. That part's not black and white.
I don't think it's typical that you'll be able to buy your practice back. I think that's a whole nother conversation. But I think to anyone who's out there is like, yeah, I'll join an OSO, and then if I want to, I'll buy it back. Like, from the people that have talked to me, in the midst of this story being out there, they're like, hey, don't count on that. And so I think it is a bit of a, I won't say it's a one-off, but I think it's, it's a unique story. And so I think this would be the big picture for me, is to the degree that you possibly can, you need to know yourself, know what's going to be a good fit for you, ask a lot of questions. And I think this is part of that. It's hear someone's experience. If you're a super independent person who is going to want to continue to run their practice in 5 and 10 and 15 and 20 years, maybe it's not the right fit for you. But that would just be my take. That may not be the right take, but it is my take. And let's move on. Go ahead.
The other thing, just to wrap a bow around this, is people change over time. So
that's true.
Whoever you are today is going to be different.
So
I always want partners. So my goal is to grow this thing, to get back into a partnership or figure out partners. So I tasted what that was like, and that is something that I definitely wish I had back at iOrtho, and I want now. So things change. I think you just got to be true to yourself. and who you are, and make the best decision you can now, and not base it on how things turned out. As long as you use your information, make the best decision, then move on and go with it. Right?
Yeah,
So-
right on. We'll talk about OSOs more the next episode when I will confirm that my computer works. It's not my computer. The computer's great. It's something with StreamYard, and I will be sending them a lengthy email after this. Okay, so a new segment. They're all new segments, but this one is called Conference Call. Yeah. And what is Conference Call? Well, we're going to talk about the most recent conference in orthodontics, which happens to be the AAO annual session. Maybe there was something else, but the big one was the AAO annual session. It happened to be in Philadelphia, which is, I take it, an important city to two of the people here. Not to me and Nicole, I don't think.
And also,
I like Philadelphia.
it's important to the entire country if we want to go back, but no big deal.
Yeah, we can go back if you would
Not
like.
just
If you
two
want
of
to talk
us.
about, can you tell us the story of the founding of the United
What were you doing in
States?
1776, Kyle? Just
What wasn't I doing
check your
in
Google
1776? I also want to show this photo because this happened at the AAO. If you can't tell, that is Anil with Simone Biles, just dropping incredible amounts of game as I saw it. I think she's married, but could have fooled me, you know?
Come on, buddy.
The Riz was out.
She almost
that's how
broke
they
my
said.
hand when she shook it.
Is that right?
Yeah. 100%.
So why don't you talk about that real quickly? That was a pretty cool moment. We did like the whole like live show kickoff. That was you. You were in your element. It was really great. Simone was awesome. You did a great job. How was it?
Yeah, she was great. She was great, and what you saw is what you get. She's really how she is. And it was a really fun take for the AAO to spice up things a little bit for the keynote and change things around. It was I thought it was really fun. I think it went off well. And selfishly, personally, I think to talk about mental wellness on a keynote stage for the AAO, I think was badass. I think it was absolutely awesome. Absolutely awesome. And probably no better spokesperson than her.
Yeah, right on. I also thought the food tour in Union Station was incredible. I had a lot of food. It was great.
Reading Terminal.
Yeah, no, that's what I meant to say. I knew as I was saying that it was wrong. The Reading Terminal. Where's Union Station? Is that on Monopoly? What is that?
Union Station is Washington,
New York?
D.C., isn't it?
I don't
There's
know.
one in Denver, but yeah, there's probably some other ones. But there's only one Reading Terminal.
There is only one Reading Terminal. And I enjoyed
can
it
see
so
you,
much
Kyle,
that I forgot the
I can
name
see
of
you
it.
going up to teachers after, maybe not
After
doing well on a test and be like, that's what I meant to write down.
Oh, totally. And I could see you not doing that because you were number one in your dental school class. And you didn't need to.
Classic Indian student, bro. What we do.
He also used concomitantly. Concomitantly? Is that the word?
Garner. I don't use concomitantly.
You said it. It was amazing.
I said Garner. Garner.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a good word.
All right. So any favorite moments from the AAO outside of Simone Biles? I know Nicole was not there. Jonathan, I assume you were there, right?
Yes, I was speaking, and I have to say, me coming back to my city, Philadelphia, where I lived for 12 years, 4 years at dental school, 2.5 years at Temple for my residency, and then private practice before I moved up to Princeton. It was very meaningful to come back, and I'm a big softie on the inside. And during my intro, my speech, I had pictures of Orhan Tunjai, my chairman, my mentor, and I got very emotional, during the fact that I was back home in my city giving a talk on missing upper laterals with aligners, and I couldn't believe I was like getting emotional, but it meant a lot for me to be there on a personal level, and it happened to be my birthday that I was lecturing on as well. So it was a great day all around. So yeah,
missing laterals. Let's be honest, it's heartbreaking. It's really sad. I'm with
know.
you.
I've been dealing with it all my life. Yes, it's terrible.
Worse. Are you Are you missing laterals yourself?
Yeah. Yes, I am. Yes, sir.
You are.
Are you really?
Yes. Yeah.
Was that? Should I not have asked that? I didn't mean to out you.
Is this common knowledge?
I don't know. I mean, it could. This is like TMZ. It's breaking right here. In case you missed
Take your flipper out. Go ahead, take your flipper out. Lean in, take those flippers.
Show
out.
us.
Come on, prove it.
Wait, 1 second.
Prove
Here you go.
Prove it, bro.
You know, Ed Helms from The Office and The Hangover is also missing a lateral.
Yes,
You probably know
correct.
that. Yeah.
Yeah,
And look how
but,
he's
you know,
done for himself.
My talk was missing U2s, missing upper laterals, managing with aligners, even better than the real thing. Because at the end of the day, I've always considered myself the Bono of orthodontics, a small man
totally.
with big ideas. And so, you know, it's just
very
my
humble
big talk
reference,
there, so.
Nico, with
Yes,
a
of
humble
course.
self-reference again. Like
Holy moly.
Jesus was taken, Nico. Sorry.
Yeah. This is amazing. Hey guys, it's time for a new segment. And I know we've got to get this thing wrapped up eventually. So is this
segment called Kyle uses his desktop computer or no?
Yeah, I'm using my desktop as I hold my cell phone. Check this out. Just like this is insane.
And
but
actually, no joke, Kyle. No, I never knew that this was set up in your garage.
Oh yeah, this is in my garage. It's a recording studio. There's like drums and stuff.
Pretty sweet, man.
Yeah, it's kind of cool.
Relapse. That's where Relapse
I'm
started,
so excited. This is where Relapse started. This is where all the magic happens. So this is What's in the Briefcase. This is that segment. And what we're going to be talking about are new products in orthodontics. That's kind of exciting, right? And so we have this that was sort of the belle of the ball of the AAO. And this is the etch-free, I guess, like bonding system from Ormco. And in the pre-show, we established that none of us have used this. So what are we really going to say about it?
But I saw the demo.
Tell me about the demo, because I did not see the demo. I was busy.
I did not get a lot of time on the exhibit floor at these things. And I saw Chris Pucko, and he pretty much pulled me aside. He's like, you got to see this thing. And to watch somebody take like a bovine tooth, plunk it in water, put primer A on, plunk it in water, primer B on, plunk it in water, cure it right away without drying it off. It was a little mind-boggling.
Yeah.
Like Oz the Mentalist, something like, what is going on right now? Take my money. Then I had to run out of there for other stuff. But it was pretty amazing.
Do we know the cost of this?
They estimated $17 per patient. So do the math of what you're currently paying, but also think about you don't have to worry about isolation issues. I think there's some technique stuff, right? They say do a quadrant at a time because the acetone evaporates. So it's not really as seamless per se, but that's how it is with a lot of products. You always got to change things a bit if it makes sense.
Right.
So I'm not an Ormco user, so this is not an ad for Ormco, but I think it's intriguing enough to potentially look at. But the other thing is it made me think for the first time, what is my cost of bonding supplies per patient? Because I've actually never broken that down of what that is. So when they said that's only $17 per patient, you think, all right, for $6,500 case, what's $17? That's nothing.
Yeah.
But I don't know if the normal cost is $8 and this is double. But at the same time, is that delta still worth it when you look at profit, lack of emergencies, things like that? So does anyone know? Kyle, you know your cost of bonding?
No clue. I'm not a numbers guy whatsoever. I think Jonathan is our resident numbers man.
Well, listen, I look at it. I use 3ml pop and Assure Plus. As an aside, anybody using regular Assure anymore? Like, why do they even have Assure? It's Assure Plus. Like
Assure Minus. It's Assure Minus.
Yeah,
now.
Assure Minus. Like, why? Yeah. Why is it even a SKU for that? But at any rate,
there's a huge market for it in Cincinnati. I just want to throw that out there. There's study club there. They love it. Go ahead.
But like, two L pops, maybe 3 if you're bonding 6 to 6 is what? $2 per pop. That's you're up to $6. What's my syringe of the 3M paste? I is it $17? No. Is it 12? Is it 10? So the difference between 12 and 17 is $5. You're again, you can deal with percentages, savings versus the actual number. And if your delta is $5, is it really worth it? I don't know. But at the end of the day, $5 means nothing. At the end of the day, it's about performance. And if it performs well, then it's truly a game changer. And I've been an early adopter in my career in many things that when it comes to stuff like this, if it's not going to be that much of a game changer as compared of aligners compared to braces, saving $5 on a bonding for me, I will let other people be the forerunners to test it out and report back to me. That's the way.
Yeah, I'm waiting. I heard someone talk about how they modeled it on a certain type of fish that like adheres to like boats or rocks or something, and that someone said there was a concern about it getting barnacles or something, but it was like a type of fish. I look, I'm going on a little bit of like fourth hand information here, but there was some concern about does it get stronger as it goes, and so I'm just waiting and seeing. But I think it's fascinating. I have another product that I want to talk about, and it is this. Probably not what you're expecting, but I thought this was pretty cool. This is Tiny Changes, a recycling program for clear aligners. There's been this prevailing thought that clear aligners can't be recycled, but that's not true. And this is through Masso, and you can actually go to masso.org, and you can find this. And we made a pledge to try to be a little more sustainable with our plastic aligners. You think about all those aligners that get thrown out. I'm not like Mr. Greenpeace or anything, but I think it's something you consider. I do hate the idea of all the plastic in the world and landfills and in the ocean and stuff like that. But I cannot recall the doctor's name in this exact moment, but she was great. And she's like really spearheaded this thing. And yeah, you can get it for free. And then I think you can get a replacement box for like $99, and they're huge. So we've just been throwing in our aligners and recommending to patients, hey, bring your aligners. If you're not, going to do anything with them, we can recycle them. So my question becomes, Jonathan, why did Align not do this?
Well, before we go there, number one question, where do you keep this box? In like your reception area, outside your office? And as a follow-up, does it smell?
My office smells just already, so this is not a problem. We practice next to a hairdresser, and they do a lot of perms. They have a lot of older clientele, so it stinks. It really smells.
Primo location
smells like
pretty badly.
Smells like
is high.
Mothballs. It smells like mothballs.
I would say at least 80% of our Google reviews reference the smell.
No.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
And
we've tried Glade.
5 stars. Are those?
We've tried Glade.
Is it related at all to how much you're sweating right now?
Yeah, no, the sweat differential is part of it. Anyway, I'm making all that up. I don't think it smells. Yes, it is kind of innately a little gross. We've kept ours in our lab, and so we're getting the aligners from people and taking it. We're not having them like dump it. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm all about recycling, but Jonathan brings up a good point. Like, where do you put it, and what is the odor? Like, it's legit. There are probably not enough aligners in there to create an odor. But this also could be because I just watched like the Poop Cruise documentary last night, so I'm just thinking
Didn't
about
we all?
like, stuff hanging out, and I'm like, ooh. So
so another fun fact: the parent company behind that is TerraCycle, which is based out of Ewing, New Jersey, down the street from Princeton.
Hey.
And TerraCycle was started by 2 Princeton University students, probably about 20-something years ago, which I may or may not have done a retainer check on one of them once upon a time.
Wow.
But getting back to your, well, I didn't say a name, but started out at Tiger Labs, which is Princeton University's venture capital unit. At any rate, why didn't Align do this? Kyle, I don't know. I don't speak on behalf of Align, despite what people
Align did. Align did a pilot. Align did a pilot with TerraCycle.
Okay, well then I know nothing of that. So Anil, please.
Align did a pilot with TerraCycle. From my knowledge, I think they did a pilot with TerraCycle to see how they could make this work. So I think it was important to Align to explore this stuff, and the pilot did not pass for whatever reasons that I don't know. But I think they were concerned with sustainability, and I think they probably still are concerned with sustainability. But maybe the partnership didn't just match. Right? There's not a lot of companies that do this, for whatever reasons, but I think they probably try to put their best foot forward to try and get this to happen.
Well,
So.
this is hardly an Aaron Brockovich level issue. However, I think it's important. So I would love to see aligner companies kind of lead on this stuff, and you know, who knows? Maybe they get it right the second time.
I mean, me burning them in the back of my office in like a bonfire is not the ideal thing to do.
No, I think actually it's best when you put them together like a Christmas tree and paint them green. Have you seen people that do that?
Oh, yeah.
That's the most
Turn them into
disgusting thing of all time.
ornaments.
Yeah, arts and crafts
I would
with
go
aligners.
take a whiff. I would go take a whiff of your lab in about 3 months and tell me what's disgusting, yeah.
Oh, it already smells so bad. It can't smell any worse. All right, I have a new segment called "That Pisses Me Off."
Ooh.
Oh, that pisses me off. That pisses me right off.
Yep. Do we like that? It was Dumb and Dumber.
Yeah, sure.
We like
Yeah,
it.
that pisses me off. So I got a lot that pisses me off, but one thing that pisses me off recently is, and I'm just going to go out and say it, and I'm sorry if it offends anyone, but it's orthodontists that help GPs with remote clear aligner treatment planning, case monitoring, and aligner overhead in exchange.
Kyle, are you sorry if that offends anybody?
Well, it's best to say that. You know?
I agree. That's a great disclaimer. But do you mean it?
Yeah, sure. I don't want to piss people off. That's like, you know, but I'm pissed off, right? As the segment said. So I just want to talk about it. Let's take the piss out of it. The smell will remain in my practice. I'm just kidding. My practice smells amazing. I just have to say, you should come visit. It smells great. There's a few companies, Two Front, Indie Ortho, Candid Pro, Ortho Brain, Straight Smile Solutions, et cetera, that are doing this. And my question is, how does this work and why are we doing it? And I ask it sincerely, and I'm not bringing this in a spirit of like being judgmental, but like, is it really worth it? Like, as I understand it, the orthodontist oversees the case, and they make $750, $1,000, something in that range. I don't know. Smile Direct Club was kind of the same thing.
What's the? Is it the financial aspect that makes it dirty? What if the orthodontist did it for free? Would that be okay then? Let's talk about that. There's no compensation to the orthodontist. I'm retired and I'm helping GPs treat. Is there a problem?
I think there's a difference as I see it in helping them treat and doing the whole case remotely. My assumption is this is my starting point. Presuppositionally, I'm going to use a big word for you. Do we feel like this is in the best interest of the patient? And I'm not trying to sound holier than thou. I'm just asking.
Okay. So let me ask this. You treating a patient remotely versus a non-orthodontist treating them in person, in general, better or worse?
I think it depends.
I would agree. And I'm taking one end of the argument.
Oh, no, totally. This is why I brought it up. This is what I was hoping for.
Like, I want to know, are people upset about the financial model?
Well, let's talk financial model. Let's sort of discuss this for a little bit. I mean, yeah, there's sort of like the ethical approach, and then there's just like let's be honest, like from a business perspective, are we shooting ourselves in our own feet by helping GPs build up their aligner cases when we're only taking a small portion? So I guess from a certain like anti-kickback perspective, it feels a little gray to me. So financially speaking, is it really the best for orthodontists and orthodontics as a specialty? I would say no.
Purely financial, you're saying?
Yeah, purely financial. It is a financial benefit to the person that's doing it because it represents a relatively small amount of time.
Are more patients being treated that wouldn't be treated?
I don't know.
Is the cost of treatment for these patients less than it would be at a private orthodontist? I'm asking all these questions just to chat. I don't have answers, right? But
yeah, what do you guys find? Because I find that some GPs charge a ton for aligners, and they charge it in like 2 payments, some of them, and it's you know, I don't know that it's necessarily more affordable, so I can't answer that. I think traditionally the idea was like, oh no, it's cheaper. I don't know if that
for me
tracks
it's less. In my area, it's less. But
it is less. We're about
less
the same. We're about the same. There's not a significant financial benefit to the patient to go to a general dentist in our area.
So, you know, I look at this, you can peel this onion on any side of it and support an argument. This is a perfect topic for debate class in high school, right? For any orthodontist or non-orthodontist to support their argument one way or the other. As somebody who did coaching for aligner orthodontics 15 years ago, for about 6 months, I did help some GPs do it, and I really didn't care for how I felt. And after 6 months of so doing it, I politely declined to only do my coaching services for orthodontists, again, years ago. And that's just a personal decision. That's how I sleep well at night. I've been offered to do many lucrative things to help GPs in the past, and I respectfully decline because that's just my own personal decision. Maz and I could have been retired by now if we opened up the fellowship to GPs, but we made a very intentional decision not to do that because that's just not who we are, and we want to help the future generations of our specialty as well as the current practitioners. So I think it's, Kyle, getting back to your question and why this pisses you off, I think it's okay that it pisses you off. I think the questions that Anil is asking are very logical questions and need to be fleshed out. And at the end of the day, just as you remember in dental school and all the different personalities of your dental school classmates, there will be any personality on any side of this answer that they will answer that question and they will sleep well at night. And so I'm not trying to skirt the answer. I'm giving you my perspective, what I've done personally, and for other colleagues, orthodontic colleagues that do it, it's not for me. I'm not going to shun them. I'm not going to ignore them at a meeting, but it's not something that I would ask them to continue to endorse. And I'll be happy to have that collegial conversation as to why, if we ever have that opportunity in person.
Anil, Nicole, thoughts?
I think you got to separate the business and you got to separate the healthcare. I think it's two completely different conversations. And I think that from a business point of view, once again, like if I was on the Invisalign board, I don't know if I would disagree with a lot of stuff they were doing from a business point of view, right? When you're running a business, you are there to make profit for your investors. And if you have to do the right thing, you have to work doubly hard, which is great. And you should work doubly hard. But I believe the root, the core of it all is orthodontists having issues with the financial benefit to other orthodontists to choose to do this thing. I do not necessarily think orthodontists are feeling a decrease in market share due to these companies, much like SDC. Oh, sorry. Maybe I shouldn't name. I can name companies now. Much like
I think
other
you can name companies that no
companies.
longer exist. I think it's okay. I think you're in the clear.
It's just, I think you got to separate the two and realize what you got to ask yourself. Why anything in life? Why does this really bug me? Is it really X that I'm coming in hot about, or is it something else? Like in general, right? And that's just why I asked those questions to try and dive into it more.
I agree with you, Anil, and you are not incorrect. At the same time, there are people that are just clicking, getting paid,
Correct.
not really modifying,
Totally.
not modifying a clean check. They're doing it for somebody in California or whatever, and they don't give a rat's behind as they're getting their payments, and that's wrong. Juxtapose that to those that really are trying to coach and help and do the treatment plan. So, there's two things here, Kyle. There's coaching and there's actually doing the actual treatment with, et cetera. And so, I've always done the coaching, not the actual treatment for somebody. And so there's a lot of concern there when it's across state lines, if you don't have a license in that state, et cetera. I'll throw a curveball into this conversation. What would you do when your number one pediatric referring office calls you up years ago and says, I want to bring an orthodontist into the practice. Do you want to come in? And as a single doctor with 2 locations that travels a lot to speak, I don't have the bandwidth to stretch. And so I met with her for lunch and I said, this is what I'm going to do for you. And you can call me whatever you want after you hear this story. But I played defense while going on offense to C block another orthodontist from coming into my territory. And I said, I'm going to open up a boutique digital practice in your pediatric office. I'm going to buy you an iTero scanner, and you're going to pay for the sleeves. I'm going to do the monthlies. I'm going to train your staff how to bond attachments, the RDAs, the hygienists, the other associates. I'm going to charge you X amount of dollars to set up the case. I'm going to charge you retail Invisalign. My VIG is my 44% rebate. And so I'm going to make on any given patient $700 to $1,000 with never having seen the patient, but my name's on that bag in that pediatric office that's 6 miles away from me. And it's up to you to explain to Mrs. Smith why my name's on the bag and not you, because we have a unique relationship with Dr. Nicozisis at Princeton Orthodontics. In case there's a problem, you can go down the street from him. I ensured each other's mutual destruction. I protected my number 1 referral base by keeping that pediatric office from bringing an orthodontist in. And as soon as I did that, we had legal documents. I had a orthodontist / attorney draw up the legal documents. I had something that I could replicate and sell to all my orthodontic colleagues, but I did not. As soon as I did that for this office, one of the associates calls me and says, I told my pediatric friend in Michigan about this, and she wants you to do the same for her in her office. And I got on the phone. I said, respectfully, I can't do that. I don't sleep well at night doing that. And on top of that, I don't have my license in Michigan. And thirdly, and as equally, I don't want to screw my orthodontic colleague whom I've never met, who might be down the road from her, doing her cases that she would normally refer. So there's a lot of splitting of the hairs here for this topic. Not as all the same. You, as anybody listening to this, can be defensive and offensive at the same time and protect your referral base by doing the business model that I just described to you. Whereas what I think you're talking about, which is okay in my book, but what you're describing, Kyle, is somebody doing treatment planning, never seeing the patient, never, talking to the doctor, and just clicking and clicking. That I personally am not okay with.
Wow, that was who better to answer that question than Jonathan?
Great, the Bono of orthodontics.
The Bono of orthodontics. You need some of those red shaded sunglasses, though. I don't think there's much more that I can say about that. But go ahead, Anil.
I do want to say, as I've gotten back in the trenches, man, dude, so much of this has to come down with hustle and grind, man. If you want to work, if you want to build your market, do it. Period. End of story. Stop looking at all this other stuff and just do it. Freaking wake up earlier, go to bed later, and put in the hours. Period. And if it ain't working, you can blame it on geography and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, it comes down to what you want and what you're able to put into it. And if you can't put it into it, then change what you want. Period, man. Watch a Kobe Bryant video and then tell me what you're going to do. Period. That's it, man. It's very simple.
I'm going to shoot a fadeaway? I don't understand.
Put in the work. Hours in a day. It's that simple, man. That's
definitely not the energy that I'm bringing to this. I'm as successful as I want to be. This has nothing to do with that.
Amen.
It's a frustration. It's a frustration with a system that seems to be opportunistic and not in the best interest of orthodontics as a specialty or of patients, as I see it. That's how I see it.
I am talking about a bunch of the chatter and questioning the motives of why this chatter is happening. I'm talking about people that are looking to point blame about this and that and this and that, which we see a lot of, I believe. And it's it's because of this, it's because of that, it's because of this, because of that. I do believe the separate arguments of financial and ethics are totally valid, right? And if you wear the hat of one or another, you have to look at all the sides. And I'm not arguing for one or the other. I'm just saying we have to see the perspectives of everyone in the room. And I can respect perspectives that might not be things that I agree with based on where they are in life and what their degree is or what their role is or what their job is called to do.
All
I
right.
can totally see that.
I want to hear what Nicole has to say, but I will just say that when Smile Direct Club was first coming up, there were people that made it about access to care and other things that I thought were totally bunk. It was not that, for what it's worth.
Access care in Manhattan. Yep.
Yeah. All right, go ahead, Nicole.
I don't have strong opinions here.
Well, I'm pissed off.
No, that's fine. I hope this helps, Kyle. And
It's
I'm
helping.
also not part of the chatter. I don't hear the chatter. I don't, so I don't know what's being said or who has what frustration other than Kyle. But from the orthodontist standpoint, like kind of listening to this conversation and now putting some thought into it, if it's a financial thing, we want to make more money, right? Yep, that's an avenue somebody could consider. But there's a lot of ways we can make more money right in our practices. There are so many holes in our leaking bucket that if we focus on our practices, you're going to make far more, revenue doing that versus treatment planning for general dentists. If it's, if from the orthodontic standpoint, I want people to have more access to care, right? If that's a problem in your area, again, I think you can achieve that because people will travel to see a specialist. People will travel. And so you can address that if that's a concern of yours as an orthodontist in many ways, one of which helping general dentists do a more Invisalign or whatever orthodontic treatment, or let people know why it's worth traveling to your office so that they can be treated by a specialist too. You can really go either way. There was something else I was going to say about that. One thing I think about, is I feel like I became a better orthodontist every challenge I had to overcome, chair side. It's the hard cases that you learn from. It's the cases that you've set up digitally that look perfect, but they don't look perfect in the mouth. And it's figuring out, okay, where do I put my buttons? What am I going to do to, what are my auxiliaries I'm going to use here? So I just wonder how that would work. As you guys were talking, I wonder how that would work at the dental office. I've treatment planned it. It looks beautiful, but it's chair side where the expertise comes in and that you learn over time.
Yeah, like IPR and things like that. All right, I feel very judgmental. Anil is making me feel like a bad person. So I'm
you're choosing to feel that way. I'm staying.
You're only lifting a mirror up at me.
I'm not making you feel anything. But
so we'll move on. I'll just say I don't understand why. I don't understand, and I recognize that's judging the motives of people, and that's probably wrong. I don't see like. Anyway, all right.
The reason why is there are business people behind it, and there are either loopholes in legislation, loopholes in dental boards, whatever you want to say. So any business is going to find potential loopholes or avenues, and there are some practitioners that see potential in that. That's where it comes down from, right? This is just business avenues. That makes sense from a business point of view.
Yeah. So, well, maybe I'm an idealist. I don't know. So we have one final segment. Okay. I'm going to redeem myself, hopefully, in your eyes, Anil. This is, oh, no, not that one. No. Not that. Remove that.
Are you going to show the scene where he's on the toilet, Kyle?
I'm not. We're going to do quote unquote. Okay. Let's bring everyone back onto the stage. Here we go.
Oh, double Kyle.
Ooh, who's that guy?
Ooh. I like it. 2 angles.
No, that was the one that screwed this whole show up.
You get this. This is like a for prom.
This is like a 1998 like X Games like GoPro angle that we have here.
I like it, Kyle.
Oh, it's so terrible. I'm gonna cry myself to sleep tonight. So quote unquote,
This has been more like the Blair Witch Project, to tell you the truth.
It has, yeah, for sure. So I put this quote up in the Facebook group that I run, and it is this quote: "Great orthodontics isn't about the business model; it's about the orthodontist." Thoughts on that quote? Quick thoughts. Is that true? And it's really like in context to the whole OSO thing. And I'll reveal a little bit of what I mean by that is I think there's a lot of people that just full sale say that anyone in an OSO is doing bad orthodontics or whatever. And I think those of us in the room would say that's certainly not true. And so the quote being again, let me just read it again. Great orthodontics isn't about the business model, it's about the orthodontist. Thoughts on that?
Define great orthodontics.
I think you can't have great orthodontics without a great orthodontist first and foremost. I mean, I think you have to have that, and one leads to the other. To get to Neil's comment, or question, define great orthodontics, no different than define what success is. But I think you first and foremost have to have a great orthodontist. And what does that mean? Somebody who cares about their patients, their staff, treating them, everybody like family, whether they start 100 patients a year or 1,000 patients a year, that's immaterial. But it's how they treat their staff, their patients, themselves, their family, their community, and that can be a broad range. But you have to have that first and foremost, in my opinion, and then it leads to a successful business model, whatever that practitioner chooses to follow.
I have some experience here. I think from my experience, clinical care is the number one focus, whether you're in private practice or an OSO. They are not coming in a group, an OSO is not coming in and changing up how you treat your patients, right? They expect you and they want you to provide the best clinical care for your patients. That is your job, whether you own the practice or whether you don't own the practice. So I don't think that's affected if you join a group or not. But something to be aware of is there are hard decisions when you're not reaching goals, when our practices are not growing and reaching targets, right, that we want to hit, whether again, we're the sole owner or there's a structure above us, that, or people above us that are owning the practice. There are hard decisions in either case that you have to make as an owner, right? And sometimes, and you can imagine if it's two doctors or somebody else that owns, not everybody might, people may not all agree on those decisions, right? But somebody ultimately has to make the choice. We've all been in that situation with our team or whatever, right? You might not agree with your best assistant or your office manager, but somebody ultimately has to make the choice. And so when you're not reaching goals, the choices get harder because you have to get very strategic when you're not producing or, right, your profit margins aren't where you want. You have to get really strategic again. This does not affect the clinical care of the patient, which is kind of where the question, that's where your question was. But it may affect if you rehire when your receptionist leaves, or when you rehire, or what dollars you have to make an offer to a new employee, what level of experience you can afford to hire during those situations. And so what can happen is your level of customer service may change, right? Because you don't have maybe that experienced person answering the phone or something like that, right? So there's other things that can be affected, but clinical care does not change unless you have turnover of doctors. So if there are stats, like I'm completely like in neutral zone here, but I am curious if there's stats on doctor turnover in OSO versus private practice, that may contribute to clinical outcomes.
Yeah, and I think I think that'll remain to be seen as this landscape evolves. I think when people speak on DSOs or when they speak on OSOs, which to me represents level of maturity and historically how long they've been around and maybe how they're run. But DSOs, I hear all these sort of horror stories. And then by and large with OSOs, it's generally positive. But I wonder in 3 or 4 or 5 years if that does change. Because I do think you're right. I think that continuity of care is a big one. I think clinical autonomy is a huge one. I feel like in the OSO world, I hear only clinical autonomy and good news. In the DSO world, maybe less so. So I think at some point, does the OSO world become more like the DSO world, or does it maintain its sort of independence? And does it maintain its focus on the orthodontist as being important to great orthodontics, whatever great orthodontics is to you? Anil, to me, it would be clinically, sound orthodontics. It's healthy, it's functional, it looks good, however you want to define that. At the same time that I think it's very important that there's good communication and good customer service. I think that both of those are paramount to what the average orthodontist should be seeking. Now, there's bad examples in private practice. There's bad examples in corporate orthodontics. It's really not about that, which to me, it is about the orthodontist at the end of the day. It's about someone conscientiously choosing to do good work every day. And I think it could be that a certain corporate, setting makes that harder. It might even make it impossible. But the one thing that the business setting can't dictate is how much you as the orthodontist want to show up and try. So I do think it is, at the end of the day, it's on the orthodontists themselves to decide how hard he or she wants to work. But you take what I said, twist it, and make it sound like it was a bad thing.
I think it comes back to the question: what's a great orthodontist, man? Like, I think orthodontists.
Are you talking about clinical outcome?
If you're talking clinical, then it's very defined. If you're talking business, it's very defined. If you talk about leader of teams, it's very defined. Completely different categories. So, is a great orthodontist a combination of those three? It is like a skill set in athletics. They are best 3-point shooter of all time. You might have the GOAT argument, right? But I think you have to specialize this a little bit more, in my mind, of who can do it all. If you want to talk about who is a truly great orthodontist, or yet we're specialists, right? Like, some of my biggest mentors in life, people would shudder to think that I would call them great orthodontists, but they've had the biggest impact in my career by far, to make me think differently and to actually, I think, expose what the world is out there. So and the greatest clinical orthodontists, I would ask all of them, is your case perfect? And I think all of them would say no. So why don't you keep going? Everyone has a limit. I'm not saying everyone's limit's okay, but what is our basis, right? Some days, I just want all my team to show up on time and to stay as my team. And to me, I'm like, that leader of a team and their culture, that is a great orthodontist. Sometimes it's just getting this case correct. Like, it's too broad for me to answer. If we subspecialize it, I think I would have the idealistic views of people, but I've got a lot of I have multiple role models in this industry for different categories that I strive to be like, for sure.
Yeah, I think probably great orthodontics isn't about the business model. It's about the orthodontist is more focused on clinical orthodontics. I think that's probably what I'm getting at. And again, it's based on this assertion that the quality of work that's done in the corporate model is bad. And I don't believe that to be true. I don't believe that to be necessarily true, for sure. That's really all it's about. I do agree that being a great orthodontist is a many, varied thing. So I don't know. Well, that didn't go over so well.
Why not? Explain to me what would go over well. Like, total agreement?
No.
Exactly. That went over great, bro.
I just want to be seen by you.
You are seen. I can see you.
So here would be kind of my editorial takeaway, and then we'll end for the night, is I do feel like there's a certain level of absolutist, very black and white, very binary argumentation around corporate and private that just feels like the hand is leaning too much on the scale, depending on which side you're on. Where, corporate's either the greatest thing of all time or it's the worst thing of all time. And I call that out and say that I wouldn't say it pisses me off. It's just sort of annoying. And I think it's important that we respect other people. We respect their motivations. Even though I was pissed off about the other thing, I recognize, in fairness, their motivations, their reasons for making these decisions are things I will never know. I think we have to lead with facts. I see a lot of like misinformation around this conversation. And I think we have to stay committed to advancing the specialty together. I think it's really, really important as this model continues to evolve that, in my opinion, we are all orthodontists. That's what ties us together. Doesn't matter the model or how we're practicing or where we're practicing or whatever. Now, maybe if all you're doing is clicking, GP aligner cases, maybe you're out. I'm just kidding. But for the rest of us,
no, you're not.
No, I'm not. You're right. You got me. I think it's very important, as I was trying to say, is to stay committed to advancing this specialty that we have. That I want to be around. I want it to be around in 10 and 20 and 30 and 50 years. So maybe that's why I'm so pissed off about the other thing, because I just don't get it to that end. But I don't think that OSOs are the end of orthodontics. So for what that's worth,
certainly not. But Kyle, let's rewind the tape 5-7 years. With the advent of direct to consumer aligners, we all thought we chose the wrong profession 7 years ago. We thought the sky was falling. We thought we would be extinct. Like, my wife's like, why are you an orthodontist? Like, this is the worst thing ever. You're going to be extinct. And, wherever the OSO DSO pendulum swings and lands, it'll find its happy equilibrium. I think there are bigger concerns on the horizon, that being student debt, and we can go on and on about that. That's been talked about for years now. But I think there are other things going on. We will have to ebb and flow and evolve and adapt to these pressures, whatever they might be. But we'll be fine as a specialty. Yeah.
And Jonathan, you talk about student debt, like all these things, like all these things are exactly why we have legislation and why we have advocates lobbying and things like that, and why bills are being passed in states to require in-person examinations. Like, if we didn't have that, then it's the Wild Wild West, right? If we don't have our peers lobbying for interest on student debt accruing and payments being made while people are training to become an orthodontist, like, then what are we doing? Like, that will drive the specialty down. It's one thing of these companies doing things, but as we continue to market to say we are the best provider of orthodontic care, it also has to be on a state and national level of what really matters, which I think we tend to forget. We just assume the AAO's doing it, right? Yet, how many people give? Like, we talk about how good the profession is, but we've like 3% or 5% of AAO members that actually give towards that stuff. Like, is it really important to you? You say it is, but it's this whole silver spoon mentality. Talk about things that piss me off. We're just gifted this amazing specialty. Patients just come to us, walk in our doors. We charge $5 to $6 grand, and we make a pretty good percentage of profit. Just kind of hand it to us. Yes, we work to it, but like at the same time, it's a pretty good gig. So
it's a great gig.
Yeah, it is. And even you look at the per diems, and it's like you talk to any non-orthodontist, it's like you get paid that and not worry about headaches. Like, it's when we step back and look at reality, it's pretty dang good. Like, but we have got to lobby, legislate, all those things to try and make sure we are protected. Because there's the local thing, and then there's the bigger perspective.
I think from a global point of view, what you, Nicole,
last comment right here. You got it.
Yeah, right here. I'm going to sum it up because that's what I'm here for. You guys are all talking about being proper stewards of the profession. And as a steward of the profession, we have to nurture it, care for it, and leave it in a better position than how we found it. And if all of us take up that mantle, that endeavor, that directive, and consider each of us a first among equals around us, we'll be just fine 5, 10, 20, 30 years from now. And the next generation in that towards that endeavor as well. Yep.
Well said. Guys, thanks for being here. I'm going to let y'all here in just a second go to sleep. I did want to say that come see me August 21st through 23rd, the Hilton Pensacola Beach. We're doing this crazy meeting with like everyone there. Jonathan, you might recognize that bald man in the very back. Dr.
Absolutely. I taught him everything he knows. That's correct. Yes.
So I've heard. But there's 20 spots remaining for this thing. It will sell out. You can go to Eventbrite, look up Fishbone Fundamentals. Neon Canvas is a part of it. Amanda Floyd Consulting, David Sarver's Ortho on the Coast. It really has everything. It's going to be an awesome meeting. And if nothing else, it's a way to end your summer on the beach. So why wouldn't you want to do that? But that's all I got. I got to thank my wife, Anna, who put a little bit of powder on me. And then I perspired so much that it didn't matter. She also got some buckets of ice because the fan is blowing across the ice to help cool it down.
Oh, mistress.
And that's a lot of effort. She's the best. She also picked this shirt out for me. I also want to thank StreamYard for ruining my night. So thank you, StreamYard, and your developers.
Piss me off.
Yeah, piss me off. You know what I'm pissed off about? Now I am going to show that clip from Dumb and Dumber, the toilet clip. So that's how I feel right now. But hey, I want to thank you. I'm going to look into the camera right now for tuning in and for putting up with this. If you started on the first stream, came over to the second stream, you're amazing. You're a really great person.
There were sick. What about the sixth stream, Kyle?
The downfall of the specialty is not your fault if you're still watching this.
It's StreamYards. It's StreamYards.
Yeah. So let me play my video, play it out. Guys, thank y'all for being here. I really appreciate you you three.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah, nice. Here comes the outro. Let's see if it plays. Here we go. Have a good night, everyone. We'll see you very soon on In Case You Missed It. Ba-dum-bum-bum-bum.